Brother, it is so good to be with you, and it's so fun to be back in these green pews, dude. I really thought by now you'd have already cut them out, and no, I'm just playing with you. Just playing. But I was talking to Kenny this morning, and one of the things that got me really interested is I hear that you are going to be down at kids' church this Sunday. So tell me, what is it? What's the big idea? Like, why are you going down to kids' church this Sunday?
So, background story. I had a leadership development meeting. As you know, anything rises and falls on leadership, and that's not talking to systems more than that's talking to leading by example. And so, I want to experience every ministry in the church. So. One of the greatest needs that Jesus has always had was children. And so we have an awesome department here, awesome people. But I want to be hands-on outside of the pulpit on Sunday morning and go to kids' church and see what is it like. I'm still a big kid.
Yeah.
So that's my thing.
Have you done children's ministry before?
Yeah.
You have?
I have. So before I started lead pastor role, I was a youth pastor for 6 years.
Oh, okay.
And then I kind of did some executive pastor work, and then ended up getting into, when I started pastoring 4 years ago in Canton, Ohio, we did a kids ministry, but it was in the low-income housing, or what people would call the projects. And so we went around spreading the gospel off the side of a truck, and people would come. We had coat drives, we had special days, and they weren't church kids.
Yeah.
Those were regular kids, so.
Yeah. It'll be a little different.
Yeah.
A little different here.
It's challenging, because you never know the response
you're
going to get. But I can tell you, what you learn about that is how more interested people are about God. They just never had the opportunity to have the conversation.
Yeah. You're talking when you're out.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're out.
Yeah.
I remember pastoring here. This was my first pastorate here. And I also had never really done much kids ministry other than like intern type stuff before. So I had wondered when I was here, I'm like, man, I would really love to know what's going on downstairs. Yeah. Not that I don't trust Kendra, right? But you know, you're up here preaching and you're like, what is it like down there? You know, I kind of have a sense of the ministry going on, but it'll be fun. I look forward to hearing how it goes. See if the kids respond.
The thing is with that is not that I don't trust who's down there. I am saying sometimes people couldn't. Let me say this responsibly. How many times people prone us to just this stage?
Yep.
And don't realize that ministry really happens by definition of seeing a need and fulfilling it.
Yep.
But I can't tell anybody else what to do if I don't experience it or do it myself. And so I want to be more versatile, just like on Sunday mornings as you were when you were here. I'm at the door greeting. I'm down here shaking hands. I'm down here doing all of that now. And it can be kind of, before service, kind of hectic because you're trying to prepare. I don't want to forget my thought. But you realize I can't tell somebody else what to do if I don't do it. So
sure.
It's the kind of thing. And you got here early. I don't get as early as you do.
Listen, I didn't beat Joe most of the time. So Joe is always the first one here.
Yeah.
No, I'm really glad to hear, because that is the onus of leadership, is leading in every aspect. And I remember like during COVID and stuff, which that was a crazy time in general, but when we needed help cleaning up, people were a little less available. So I remember like scrubbing toilets a couple times and stuff like that. And I really remember that as like a beautiful thing, where I was really young and proud and thought I knew everything.
Yeah.
And I was scrubbing toilets.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe I don't really know everything.
And then, but then you have to realize that, and you know this because you're in a role now that you see this more than I do. The most important people in your churches now are families and children. Children get dropped off, have a great experience, go back, tell their experience. Eventually adults come. Now we wish that adults would be responsible to come with their children. That's not always the case. But if that child can experience something environmental, then the fun. I don't believe in having fun without education. And I say that because even in school, you know, you got PE, you got arts, you got all of that. But that doesn't pass the grades, even in church. And so Jesus always have admired children, but he also sat with them and taught them.
Yeah.
And then he taught adults to be like them. So what that says is, if you can't be like this child, because adults are hard-headed, children are humble. And so he says, except you humble yourself like this little child, you know, you won't be accepted.
Yeah. I'm as guilty, and I'm sure you're as guilty as feeling like we know.
Yeah.
You know, and a child's still open. I hope we all kind of rediscover that.
And they do what they see.
Yeah,
they do what they see.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so you've been here for 2 years?
Almost.
Almost 2 years?
Going on 19 months.
Okay.
19 months, yeah.
You going down to the days? Or?
No. I'm not that accurate, but I know I can tell you 19 months.
Yeah, that's cool. So in 19 months, how has your theology of ministry, how has kind of your ideas been molded by your time here? How have things changed?
So I can say this, in 19 months I've seen legacy and leadership, and I'm trying to figure out another L, but I may not get it. So legacy is
hard on the spot.
Is traditional, which is legacy. That's just who's been the founding stones.
Mm-hmm.
Leadership is, how do I take and bridge that gap? And I think the good thing about it is, when you were here, you had both. You had legacy builders, and you had, you know, those new kids and all of that. And it can be tough because both have a bad rep. The rep is legacy doesn't want to change. You got the kids, they want to come and change everything.
Mm-hmm.
So in 19 months, I've been trying to figure out how to bridge the gap with both.
Yeah.
And to say in 19 months, it's just God. It's not even me. This church has been here 119 years. At that point, it was 118 when you were here. So imagine, number one, in your 20s.
Mm-hmm.
It's unheard of in your 20s to take a legacy church.
Sure.
Who's literally, no shade to anybody, everybody came out of. You got to think, from 1905 to now, a lot of people came out of this church, whether they admit it or not. But to pastor the, if you will, like Paul used, the mother church is kind of, I'm not qualified, you know. But you realize that God always blow your mind when you say yes. So I just think being here is a yes opportunity. It's a yes. It's a yes. Like, yes, God, I don't understand how always to do it, but He's led me the rest of the way. And being here has been good and bad. In anywhere, you're not gonna have all good. You're not gonna have all bad. But you got to figure out how to make both of them work out for the common good.
Yeah, I'm sure it's really hard to work with Kenny.
He's been my right-hand man. You hear that? He's been my right-hand man.
Yeah, no, definitely taking the legacy that is this church, and I appreciate the humility that you approach.
Yeah.
and respect that legacy, but then also recognizing that there's this beautiful future that's not only for this church, but like this community outside.
Absolutely.
It's the community's moving towards a different Urbana, right? Urbana is being reshaped. Just take a drive downtown.
Yeah.
And like even when I got here before COVID times till now, so much has happened downtown.
Yeah.
And it's like, we want this church to be a part of that future, but not only just a part, but like leading something beautiful into that.
So I've got a question for you. So
that's supposed to be mine.
Oh,
no,
I'm sorry.
No,
now take it over. Yeah. But if you could talk to briefly on resigning and transitioning, hearing the voice of God in that, and when you were here, as how were you able to accept the reality of, I've been here 5 years, I've moved, and now, coming back to what used to be, how did you accept that reality? And how was the transition?
Sure.
How was that?
The people here are lovely.
Yeah.
And so they are extremely respectful, and they have treated me with nothing but grace and kindness.
Yeah.
And I think that there's certainly things about the transition that I wish had gone a little bit better. It took a while to find you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that the timing of things, from my perspective, it was the right timing for what we felt like the church was going through, which was I was in a place somewhat emotionally, spiritually, where I felt like what I was doing was not leading the church into this space in which we're here, in which we felt like we were in a healthy spot.
Yeah.
But I want the church to go to this place.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really sure how to move the church into that new place. Yeah. And so it felt to me at the time where it's like, I think someone else could do a better job of getting the people into this new space in which they're reaching the community in a new way.
I think we have to honor the fact that you did a great job.
Well, I appreciate, I certainly put any success in the hands of God, because one of the things that this church has taught me the most is humility, right? And I still am very idealistic, like I have big dreams. I think we serve a really big God. We can do amazing things. Yeah. But a lot of times in this idealism, it actually is not rooted in God, in that I find myself dreaming dreams that are my dreams and not God's dreams. Yeah. And so that's one of the things that this church taught me was just how selfish I am, and how a lot of the time I'm looking for success from my vantage point and not God's vantage point. Yeah. And so I think that was part of the transition for me, is I needed a healthy reset on what leadership really is, and just felt like the church was in a healthy enough space that a new leader could come in and hopefully move the church into a prosperous era. So, and that's what my prayer still is for you and for this church here, is I think this church is uniquely positioned with the surrounding neighborhood and with the growth that I believe I see in Urbana as a whole, that this could be a real light on this side of the tracks. Oh yeah. And I believe in what God has in store for this church. Oh yeah. So I appreciate you asking that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I think a lot of people would come into a conversation, and this is a segment on this podcast. A lot of people would come into a space of interviewing the new pastor, or especially with secession and all of those things, and not honoring the fact of what did that last pastor feel, what did he go through, what was it like. And we know you're in a good space now, but that's why I am very humble to say, I'm a man of honor. So anywhere that I have a stage, you have one, as I've told you that, and no competition, just collaboration. And so, I want to make sure that there's a healthy relationship, but also making sure that, those who are in that space that you were just over 2 years ago, you want to make sure that, hey, how do we come alongside and help to make sure that pastor is still okay?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, there's been a lot of growth with me and God.
Yeah.
And, I feel a lot healthier at this point in my life. When I look at ministry and my relationship to ministry and my relationship to God. So, I appreciate you asking that.
Absolutely.
And we certainly, pray the same thing for you, that,
Absolutely.
that you're growing and feeling content in your relationship with God and your health with ministry.
Yeah.
With that said, I do want to know, because I'm constantly looking at data, trends, that kind of stuff for like the future of the church.
Yeah.
I would love to hear, because I think you have a great mind for ideas and how to lead people into those spaces. I just kind of want to get your ear on what you see for maybe Urbana, but also maybe the larger church. What trends are you really excited about that you want this church to tap into as you see the church of the future?
Okay. So I'm always studying data day in, day out, beyond sermons, and I read a lot. Like even, you're an author yourself. Now I haven't got to sitting down yet and actually writing my book yet. The Lord hasn't really released me to lock into that. He's only given me the title. But I can say this in this manner. I've always looked at trends from a place of a mirror. If I was not in my current position, where would I be? And that's not a job. That's with any job. Well, no, that's not a job. That's with anything other than a job. Because I think we sometimes look at, if I want a pastor, I would be a construction or truck driver. But they have no idea why. So when I look at ministry, I look at it from a place of a mirror. If I was a church goer, what would I want my church to look like? What would I invite people into? How would I communicate the vision of my pastor, which is what I did for years? How can I be the best effective church goer according to vision? Because vision is ongoing. It's not a moment. And I'm coming up the ladder to the trend. So vision says this is where we look to be. Mission says, how do we get it done? So when you were here, it was love, connect, and go. Well, building upon that, God gave me a new word to add in. So now is love, connect, grow, and go. So loving everybody, no matter where you are, connecting with our community, growing in our faith with Christ, to ultimately go in the world and make disciples. That grow piece is actually where the trends come from. That loving is where the physical labor comes from. That connect is physical labor. That go is physical labor. Those are all physical labor. Because I gotta love you. That's a commandment. I need to go make disciples, which is that connect or that go. Connecting is how you go to make disciples, but then how effective can I grow? Trends is, number one, being a Bible teaching, Bible believing church. Above all that. And I'm not against, don't get me wrong, I'm not against renovations. I'm not against, LED screens, as those are all physical things.
Yeah.
But what if I have that and they have no word?
Yeah.
So my ultimate goal each week is to grow people. What did Jesus tell his disciples? The kingdom is in you. Now, what were they supposed to do? Go put that kingdom in others. And I know you've had a heart for the community and the various spaces that you've served with, food insecurities, helping people with rent and things of that sort. And so that ultimately is that growing piece to know what the word says about it and then going and actually putting it in action. So a trend that I see now, I'm always not just reading, I'm studying culture. Culture is a big piece of anything we do. And that's not church culture. That is American culture. So what I do, and I know some people would consider this a liberal thing, I'm always looking at social media. Where is the world headed? Now, Bible talks to us about the kingdom suffers violence. Violent take it back by force. How are we supposed to do that if we don't study culture? Because a lot of people would complain about what the enemy is doing, what the devil is doing, how he's always active, how people are not coming to church. But the question would be, how are we going to go to a place we don't study? And so I study culture, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube. I study all of those things and I say, hey, how can I take that and remix it into a proper way where people in our church or people who would connect to our church can say, hey, he know how to, make this relatable to what the word says. And like I'll say this briefly, I preached a sermon series coming into January. Nobody was expecting it. Everybody was, they was on the fence about it. But I knew what I heard God say. Everybody was talking about, this 6-7 culture, 6-7. Everybody was saying how demonic it was. And while I agree, I must also say, if the kingdom is going to suffer its violence and the violence is going to take it back by force, if we don't start speaking about the things that is killing our community and taking that from the devil and actually putting it into what God says, and 6-7 is not in the Bible. But how many people are saying something that they have no definition to? But then now you don't have to follow a trend. You don't have to follow what they saying. God wants you to follow this trend. God wants you to do this. Know that you're fearfully and wonderfully made. So I study. And some people say, well, the pastor shouldn't be listening to that. While I'm with you, how am I going to effectively pastor if I don't know the needs of my community, the needs of my people, and the needs of, Urbana? So my greater vision is not just, because I know it would be a vague answer if I said, well, collaboration. Or unity. While I believe the bigger church at large is that unity, there were different things that would divide all denominations. But how do we come together and say, beyond theology, beyond perspective, how do I get over preference to serve my greater community at large? And that's simply kick the devil in his face. How do you do that? Stop arguing over the stuff that don't matter. And I think something you said when we was at a meeting one time about why isn't it something we're already doing? It shouldn't be a conversation about what we're going to do. The question is, why aren't we doing it? And so that goes down to what I see for this church is, I know we look at the green pews, but I made a statement. I said the green pews can stay if nobody is growing. But week in and week out, I work as hard to make sure, like I know when you were here, you were helping with track and all of that. Some of this, now I don't run track. I can get you some help, but I can't run, all right? But I am also going into schools, going into clubs, going into, not clubs like that, but, You know, that sounds bad. Pastor in a club. No. Different clubs in the school.
Clip it.
Yeah, you got to clip that part. But I'm going into different organizations, seeing how can we come alongside. And that's my greater vision. How can I come alongside this, still on that, this natural, in a world, secular world, to bring Christ into that. Mm-hmm. And that's ultimately taking Christ to the community. And even if this church is not filled, which one day it may be, I have faith in that. But even if it's not filled, at least the people are. So that's my greater. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. No, I think when it comes to Christianity, the trends that matter are the old ones.
Yeah.
Right? You start off by saying that, we need to make sure that we're a biblically based church that's growing the people here into the disciples that they should be.
Yeah.
And that really is the trend that matters, right? It's not the smoke screen or the flashing lights or any of those types of things.